Hello, everyone. I'm Rebecca Rose here with newly published author Chris McNutt. Chris, I'm happy to be with you today. I have so many questions to ask you about your journey and your, new book and so many things that have informed this latest creation of yours. Happy to be with you today.
Yeah, it's great to be with you too, Rebecca. Thanks.
Yeah. So tell me, the first thing, you just wrote a book. I'm wondering how that's feeling for you, and if you could talk about like this book has been in you for a long time. You're a creator to the core. I think it's run through many lifetimes for you. And was there any particular catalyst or pivotal point on the journey for you that helped you to write the book, or just talk to us about the germination of that seed in your life?
Yeah, thanks. You're right. It was something that was coming for a while. I've been, a deep kind of practitioner of the spiritual arts for some time, but also, yeah, creative. I've done a lot of different creative things in my days, from being a TV producer to different forms of writing and theater and stand-up comedy and all kinds of
Yeah.
different pursuits in that department. And um, it's always in the back of my mind that someday I have to write a book. Someday I have to write a book. But
Mhm.
it came out with quite a bit of ease. It kind of surprised me that the book came out when it did. If you had asked me a month before I started writing, if is this what you're going to do next month, I would have said no. I got other things. I had some film projects on the go and different things I was more focused on, and did some deeper spiritual work in a workshop, and
Mhm.
that really kind of seemed to open up some channels within
Yeah.
me,
Yeah.
and the book
Yeah.
just started to come.
I love that. And I think it speaks to your readers about maybe it's inspiring to me and perhaps people who follow you that, we have, what did I say earlier, that seed of germination of creation that wants to come forth within us. That's who we are as creators on this planet. I love that you seize the moment and were able to run with that. So, what are some of the key things that have informed? There's so many questions wanting to come through at once. Let's go to your journey first, and we'll pivot and come back to the book and thread this all together as we move forward. But like I said in the intro here, you have been a spiritual seeker for, I would say, lifetimes, and a finder, a gleaner of wisdom across many traditions, and most importantly, sourcing your own inner wisdom, which I think very much informs the book. Do you want to talk about the first notions you had about your search for? Shorthand could be, why are we here?
Like the
Talk
first
to
time,
yeah,
first
like
time in
this
my
traces,
life.
yeah, traces way back. That's kind of a big question, so dive in wherever you want.
Sure. As long as I can remember, I have memories of being like a 7, 8-year-old kid, just lying in bed at night, looking at the ceiling and just wondering what this place is all about, or, how the universe is created. And always just along some sort of path where influences kind of came to me. Mysticism. I read Carlos Castaneda when I was young, and the Tao Te Ching and Zen and Buddhism. And I finally made my way into yoga and meditation, and went to India a couple of times and studied there with different teachers and gurus. And but always, I think there's an Aquarian nature to myself, being a strong Aquarius, where it's individual and often gleaning out of the teachings and the texts that you have to do it yourself. These
Mhm.
are all just signposts that sort of point in some direction, but you have to go down that path yourself. You always have to go inner and find out what's there and how does this shape out for you. So that's always sort of informed, yeah, my journey, where it's great. I'm listening to what you have to say. I'm reading a book about what you have to say, but then it was put it inside and run it through my own
Mm,
operating system, take it for a test drive, see to what degree it actually, these teachings sort of, worked for me, and then take what I wanted and discard the rest. Or, um, yeah, and even over time, where things change, I think that anybody who's been on a, sort of spiritual seeking journey, you can see within yourself how it
mm,
changes and yeah, it just unfolds over time.
mhm.
So the last 5 years of my life have been really about my own journey, not reading so many texts, not being informed by so many other teachers, but just saying, okay, let's go inside. Let's see what's there.
I love that. And because, I mean, in corollary to myself and my own spiritual journey, and probably a lot of people watching this, that, the teachings and teachers of which you speak and which you may have found over the course of the journey, do they serve as a portal, really? And then we have to go, I think I hear you saying, we have to go in and be seekers and finders of those gems within and how it resonates for us. Um, that is a brave journey. I mean,
So
has it, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, when the book started to come out, it just started to come out in such well, there's just been so many influences. I think we live in a very,
Hmm.
it's a rich time where we have access to so many teachings and so many influences. And I can remember all the teachers or YouTube videos or things I've read or heard. So I had this realization that even some notions I have or some concepts were in my head is, God, I don't even know where that came from. I can't even draw a line back to where that was, because there has been so many. So it's why the title Consciousness Mixtape sort of came out for me, where it seems, and the notion of sampling, where it seems that's what we're doing in this 21st century life, where everybody is taking little bits from all the influences that we have, and it doesn't matter if it's writing or any form of creativity. We're doing it with food, we're doing it with music, and so I just noticed that I had so many influences inside of me that was informing, yeah, my relationship to the expanded beyond. Yeah, I didn't even know how to trace it back anymore. So
Yeah.
it was sampled bits of this and that and put together in my own mixtape of my mind, and coming out in its own, yeah, song, so to speak.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's true. We're here and well, with the book, I would say you're um one of the things as I read the book is that we're all here almost creating our own experience and that we can take what we need from that and leave the rest. And we are in a way masters more than we realize of this human experience, this human embodiment. Is that is that something you've learned over time or does that feel true to you?
Yeah, that's really started to sing out in recent years.
Hmm.
How sovereign we are, how and it's even a bit of a deviation from a lot of the spiritual traditions that have been on the planet for a while, where it seems, oh, you're sort of stuck here. There's karma, and there's, you're on the wheel of samsara, that
Samsara. Yeah,
you
yeah.
have to liberate yourself from this place. Like, this is sort of a lesser than experience taking human form, and it's a bit of a grind. And if you're lucky, you'll get off this wheel, you'll do the right work, and you'll ascend and awaken and go off somewhere else. And to me, I've on my own journey come to the almost reverse realization that no, it's all a complete choice to have come here. We exist on many multi-dimensional levels at once. There's aspects of ourselves where, we come from this awakened state, but we've chosen to be here for very specific reasons in order to do specific things in this limited reality. So we do have power and we do have control, and it's not any lesser than state that you're in as a human, though it sometimes feels like it, which is the irony of this whole journey, that
Hmm.
it's amazing and it's wonderful and it has so much to offer. And
Hmm.
yeah, I don't know, we diss it on so many different levels, even in the spiritual traditions.
Yeah, and that really is true, Chris, and the people I speak with and clients that I have and so on, it's a lot of times we want to get out of here or go up or leave and exit this plane. But what you said there that sung out to me in like sort of neon letters painted across the sky is we chose to be here. And that's one of the big themes that I think arises again and again in your book. Like we chose this. I don't think there's a lot of, if we look deep into that, feel into that, then we're not just victims of circumstances and nebulous situations in this embodiment, but there's more going on, and we can keep diving deeper and deeper and deeper into that, which I find so delicious in a way. Um,
I
how,
agree. I think the paradox is it just doesn't present that way to us. When we come into human form, it doesn't seem like, why would we ever make this choice? And as you open your eyes to your human self, from being a baby to an infant, growing up as a teenager, it's just riddled with suffering and so much confusion. And why would you choose to go on this adventure? So that is a notion that I tried to explore in the book. Like, why would you come into human form? Why would you take on this, what's really quite an extreme challenge? And
yeah.
some teachings say this is one of the most extreme challenges you could give yourself anywhere in the galaxy, in the universe, to come to Earth in human form. It's the master class of journeying on a soul level. So I just kind of want to infuse that appreciation for how wonderful this is and how much it has to offer, rather than it
Yeah.
being, this prison sentence that we have to endure.
I had this riff in my from one of my own, teachers talking about precious human birth, and I think you're giving us a postmodern spin on that. Like this is an opportunity to explore such great heights and depths and the breadth and depth of everything that the menu has to offer. Kind of harkening back to your book and the banquet, the mixtape, the many varieties and flavors of experience here. Yeah. So, and that's one of I think that's a key takeaway for us now. I mean, what are some of the themes that run through the book over and over that you kind of keep coming back to, or that we might come back to? That's one of them that we chose to be here. I feel like a big one. Um, Anything else that are like some of the key points within the story you brought forth through consciousness mixtape?
Also trying to, I've kind of had that realization in my own journey where we say, okay, I'm a sovereign being, and I have the power to create my reality. I mean, that might be a bit of a that that's a concept, but then how do you actually apply that? Like, how do we create the reality we're in? And if you take it a couple of steps back, how did you create this reality before you even stepped into it?
Yeah.
If this lifetime is something that on our higher dimensional, higher self, soul journey, we created it for us to experience. Well, then the question is like, how do we do that? Like, what is the control panel? What is the operating system? How do we create our reality? Because for myself, it's been a realization that we're doing it all the time, even though we don't call it that or we don't use that terminology, but that's what we do. And we're doing it with energy, we're doing it with vibration, we're doing it with our thoughts, we're doing it with our intention. And so much of what we do is energetic while we are in this, what appears to us as this physical reality. And
Hmm.
we think that so much of we have to activate physically, we have to activate because we're in a physical reality. But I tried to describe the notion of that, like, no, actually, this is mostly an energetic experience. And even though you are here in physical form and everything seems very solid, you hit a tree with your bicycle, it's a very physical, solid experience, even though it's actually energetic. So how can we become more masters of the life we're living energetically?
Hmm. Hmm. So is it right, do I hear you correctly in that, things appear first, perhaps we even appear first as an energetic being, an energetic impulse or energetic moment before we come into material or before we hit the crashed our bike into the tree, something else went on energetically. Is that something that my understanding
Yeah,
right?
that's how I'm reading it. But I, as I described in the book, like an analogy I use is that it's like we're scuba diving here. Like everybody just woke up, but we're scuba diving and we're in scuba gear and we're down underwater and we're in this very foreign environment and we're trying to describe what it's like on the surface in the air. You can't really do it because we're in this environment. So the brilliance of taking any kind of human form or physicality is you sort of forget that other side to things. And then here we are in physical form. It's very consuming and similar to being to scuba diving, trying to describe what it's like in the surface in the air. We're down here trying to describe other states of being, like what was it like before I was alive? What is it like after I die? What's heaven and the afterlife and the astral plane? And we have all these notions about, you know, who we are on this expanded level, but we're down here in this physical reality, you know, and a paradox and a challenge for us is to try to make sense of it, our journey in this expanded way when we're kind of stuck in this dimension, in this reality while we're here.
Hmm. Hmm. And the paradox you brought up, I think, in the book too, is like, and yet, it's not necessarily a limiter. It can expand us into our um, magnificence in a way, or expand our consciousness, expand our potential and possibility as humans. Now, do you remember the moment you came in or other incarnations? Do you have a sense of what happens after we die experientially? I think you've had some uncommon experiences in your life. Can you share anything about that that may have informed the book?
Nothing other than a real curiosity. I meditate a lot. I spend a lot of time touching into myself energetically, noticing myself as a sort of vibrations. If you do that enough, you can't help but notice yourself energetically. Um, I think the veil that of forgetfulness that I'm experiencing in this lifetime is really quite acute. I don't have a lot of deep memories of what it was like before, or necessarily where I'm going afterwards, other than I know it's not this form and I keep going as an eternal being, and that I've no doubt been here and also been other places in various different forms, which is as anybody who kind of taps into that, it's nebulous. You have to sort of trust
Yeah.
the messaging that you get, that memories and, you know, being able to tap into the multi-dimensional facets of who we are. Um, but at the same time, I'm quite grounded here in this human experience, though I spend as much time as possible going out into the other aspects of my expanded being,
Yeah,
so to speak.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's very true of you as I know you so far. In this, I feel is like you're opening a portal for people to explore maybe beyond um, certainly beyond conventional reality, but our ephemeral nature, which leads us into that which is eternal, and to do so without so much trepidation, or to something I hear you saying, speaking to here is kind of trusting that impression and that instinct and that intuition, that knowing, that wisdom that there is more to this. My experience, like we come from many lifetimes, and as you say, maybe not all on this plane of reality, not all from Earth, maybe different star systems or something else. And there's glimpses of that maybe through meditation and through the expansion of mind that I feel leads us deeper into seeking, but also trusting. And that's something you really give people an opportunity to kind of bite into. And explore again the banquet in the book. Yeah.
Well, I'm fascinated with the question, if this is one of the many options throughout the galaxy, throughout the universe, if this is just one of many places that you could incarnate, have experiences, take human form. This isn't the only planet that you could even be human on. But it's very specific, this reality that we are in. So why did you choose it? Why did you come here? Where, throwing that out as a question for people to explore, why did you come here? It was a choice. And so what was it about this reality, about the experiences that you can have here that appealed to you? What is it that maybe keeps you here through multiple lifetimes, as it seems to be an experience that we all go through? This place has so much to offer. It's so intoxicating. You get hooked in that you just want more and more and more, and you want another experience. I described it in the book as like an amusement park that you just run from ride to ride to ride, that you want to, like your 12-year-old self who's there with their friends and just going from, different, experience to experience to experience, because there's so much to offer here. But the question to all, as an eternal being of light and an expanded soul of the universe, why did you come to Earth in human form?
Mm. That leads me into, thank you. And that leads me, that's well said, Chris. Thank you. And something you speak repeatedly to, and I think importantly to in the book, is that we are fractals of source. For your audience now, maybe people who are, you wrote the book in part for new explorers of these realms, people who are newly, maybe seeking spiritually, seeking after something else. Talk to us about being fractals of source.
Ooh, fractals of source. Um, I've heard that term, and it's not one I didn't come up with the term fractal of source consciousness. Um, but it seems this patterning, this mathematical patterning of the fractal, which is fairly new in our human history. 50, 60 years, mathematicians and computers have been able to generate fractal patterning, uh, that many feel, just explains the structure of the universe, because it's patterns that repeat. And for those that aren't aware of a fractal pattern, you can continually zoom into it, zoom into it, zoom into it. It just on the micro and the micro and the micro level, keep going in and keep going in, and it just keeps expanding. If you zoom in more, there's more there. You zoom in more, there's more there. The patterns just keep repeating. It doesn't get more granular. It just gets more expansive. So it's a good way. Many use it as an idea to how we can see that we're connected, because the phrases out there that some of it's just kind of lip service to spiritual concepts, like we're all one, we're all connected. But how does that work? Like, how is that experience? Because we're sitting here in this human body, and it doesn't feel like we're connected. It does not feel like we are one with everything. It's a very isolating experience. You feel very unique. I'm looking through my eyes, not your eyes. And so how do we explain how we are connected to the heavens, the higher dimensional beings, the higher dimensions of the universe, and yet maintain some sort of individuality? Because we can all admit that, yes, there is some part of this experience that is very individual and then connected at the same time. So if we call source consciousness just the oneness, the great being, God, there's so many terms that are out there being used for the same thing. Uh, and just thinking of yourself as one of those fractals that goes down and down as you zoom in and you zoom in and you zoom in and you zoom in and you zoom in. It doesn't get lesser than. It doesn't get less distinct. It doesn't get granular, or like, oh, okay, I keep zooming in. Like if you looked at a picture, like a digital picture, as you zoom in, you see the pixels after a while, and it's kind of like granular and kind of grainy. But that's not how a fractal works. It doesn't ever get granular or grainy. We're down here on this kind of limited level, but the experience is as rich as anywhere in the universe that you can have here. It is still everything is contained within
Yeah.
this experience. We're still connected to the entire universe. We're still made up, each and every one of us, with the entire universe within our beingness that we have access to. It's a bit of a paradox where nothing and everything all kind of combined together. But it's
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
give it as an invitation because it's something we just all each have to explore on our own. It can't give this, here's the definition.
Mhm.
It's more like here's an offering. Now you chew on that yourself for a while and see what you find out.
Yeah. 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 I mean, is it fair to say we really are the universe? We are a creation. We are the cosmos. We are that creative spark, that God spark. Yeah. That can be quite heavy to sit with that. Like, hey, pause everybody, feel into that. How does that change the story for everybody? Like for me, as I listen to you say that, it's like, oh yeah, renewed vision for my own life. And I think you bring that to people to the table of the banquet in the book to contemplate, feel into, explore, experience, meditate on that. What is it like if I'm suddenly, oh, aware of the cosmos within me? Wow. So what a gift you've given really to the world in publishing this and giving people an opportunity to reflect on that. I think
I
that's really
hope so because it can be a bit of a grind down here. Almost anybody who's in human form knows that it's a grind. It's not easy. It's feels like you're walking uphill in sand all the time. It's just things can be a struggle, and everywhere you turn, people are going through their own challenges, and it's not easy. So anything to kind of have some balm of healing that can lighten that load and that little bit of perspective, that I found it very helpful for my own journey, just to think of myself in these expanded ways. And it just takes some of that edge off, the claustrophobia of being my human self. If I'm just looking at it all through that perspective, then yeah, sometimes it's kind of depressing. It's just not easy to be me. It's not easy to be anybody in a lot of ways. So just the expanded perspective, zooming out and zooming out and zooming out, and thinking of yourself as so much more and operating on so many more levels, to me just eases the sharp edges that accompany this journey in human form.
yeah, yeah, thank you, Chris. As we're speaking today, I feel a spaciousness emerging as I listen to you. And again, I feel like you brought that to the book. You brought that to your audience. Like from the cloyingness of this 3D realm, which again can seem so limited, into a vast spaciousness of mind, of heart, of body, of awareness, in the maybe joy of exploration of this realm, like beyond what we have called, and you have called adeptly in your book, The Matrix. Can you say a word or three or four or a million about The Matrix? Tell us about The Matrix. What is that about?
Ooh,
Oh,
juicy topic.
yeah.
What is the
Yeah.
Matrix? I think I find it curious, and how we all have a bit of an understanding of that. Throw that term out here 30 or 40 years ago, people wouldn't have had any idea what you're talking about. But now
Mhm.
it's a common notion in our kind of popular culture, and even new age spirituality sort of thing, using this terminology of the matrix. But in my book, I tried to describe how that notion that's in the Matrix movie franchise, where that the Matrix is almost like an external creation that people are sort of victims of, and they have to kind of live within. Um, in the book, I tried to describe how we go from our personal consciousness to collective consciousness, how um, the vibrations and the frequencies that we create within ourselves then goes out into the world, and we share, and then we end up sharing it. We share a lot of thoughts, we share a lot of emotions, a lot of feelings. And really what the matrix is just collective ideas that we generate in, and then we all take for truth and yeah, shared ideas, shared concepts, shared vibrations. And I tried to give examples of things that are in our matrix, like hatred is in our matrix, greed is in our matrix, beauty is part of our matrix, love is in our matrix, humor is in our matrix, and because we create it, we perpetuate it, we share it with others, and so there it is. It's a field that we're in, and I think if we went to different realities, different planets, they would have a different matrix. They would have it wouldn't be the same as what it is here. So I don't know if I encapsulated that. It's a pretty
I'm
meaty.
giving you tough questions, Chris. These are like,
Yeah,
what is
it's a
the
meaty
calculus for?
subject, sort of like what is the matrix? But I think my key point that I wanted to make in the book is that it feels like you're a victim to it, but you're a co-creator of it. And we can
Mhm.
shift the matrix. And in my own lifetime, I've seen concepts and ideas that were thought to be outrageous 40 years ago that now is just kind of commonplace and ways of being. So our collective consciousness does shift, and we all have the power to influence it. So rather than thinking it's
Yes.
just this, we're victims. A lot of people in the especially the new age community. Oh, it's the matrix, it's the false matrix. We talk about it as like it's being made by somebody else, and it's like, no, it's being made by all of us. It is
Mhm.
it is something that we all contribute to. So if you want to shift it, you have to shift it. Challenge is there's 8 billion humans right now influencing the matrix, and you're one of those 8 billion. So it's not something like you could snap your fingers and change the matrix. But that is how it shifts. It's really that simple. Like the energy and the physics behind how it works is quite simple. I tried to describe that energy vibration that we create. These are
Yeah.
simple concepts of physics. And then when it expands outwards into collective human consciousness, we have the intricacies that we do.
So the energy of our collective thoughts is helping create this reality. Is that accurate?
Absolutely. Think of
Mhm.
all the things that, we could just dive into anybody's beliefs and ideas that they have about life. And it's like, well, where did that come from? It came from my parents. It came from school. It came from my community. It came from my religion. It came from the country I grew up in. It came the sex that I am. Like there's all kinds of things that contribute to notions of reality that we have, and some of it we just take for granted. But it's really just things we've made up and then we share with each other. It's all just stories that we're telling each other, and we just decide to call, oh, this story is called truth. But it's all just fabrication, or I don't know. I don't want to use fabrication in a negative context. It's all creative. This is
Mhm.
all
Yeah.
this is all an art project. Your life's
Yeah.
an art project. The universe is a co-creative art project. So it's all creative. There is no static reality. No, there's no reality. It's just we're making it up as we go along.
I have to say, you brought in a lot of very expansive views into, um, your book that is, could be volumes. I think it will be volumes. I'm going to ask you about that in a minute. But first, because this is relevant to what you were just saying, page 87 of your book, the chapter called The Matrix, there is no truth. There are only stories. The only meaning anything has is that which we ascribe to it. Anything else you want to say about that? Because I think that's another really compelling portal for people to kind of gaze into, step through, and contemplate. Yeah.
And I understand that some of these take a while to digest and um, sort of realize within yourself. I tried to preface it in the introduction to say, if there's any of these concepts that don't ring true, don't discard them, just set them aside, because sometimes it takes a while for meteor concepts to activate within our operating system. It just takes time. And that might be one of them, where we have such a deep belief in truth. We have such a deep belief that this is a static, consistent reality that obeys laws of physics, and that we're all here, and it's a static reality when it's really a lot more liquid than that. And so many of the ideas and the stories that we tell each other are just that. We're just doing our best. And it's not with intent. I don't want to, because everything's a story. I don't want to even, phrase it or, cast it in the light that it's deception somehow. It's not, humans aren't trying to deceive each other. We're doing our best, but there is no meaning to anything outside of that which we ascribe to it. And if you look at our history, even what little we know about it, we can see how perspectives and things we take for true today were not true 100 years ago. And it's always shifting, and it's always in flux.
And I would say too, that people's spiritual development on the planet is shifting the story, shifting the narrative, shifting from what we believe as static to something more open, expansive, and dynamic in the moment, which I think is also so empowering. And you touch on that in what you offer to your followers here in the book and elsewhere. I really appreciate that. Yeah. What do you feel is the most important calling on the planet right now for everyone? Is there again another large topic, large question I'm putting to you? Thanks for bravely diving into all of this with me, Chris. Can you speak to that?
I go back again and again to this being quite an individual experience. So it's hard to say, here's what everybody should
Yeah.
be doing when
Mhm.
everybody is doing something different, and everyone's here for different reasons. And in this lifetime, if you look at the idea of, in order to completely learn the human experience, you have to have multiple lifetimes. Some say thousands and thousands of them. So in one particular lifetime, there might just be a couple of themes that you're working on, and your neighbor or your sister or even your partner is working on different themes, and we're all doing different explorations in different things. I stick. I've been exploring the idea of just trying to be as non-judgmental as possible, even though I don't like hatred. I'm curious as to why people are choosing to be hateful. Like it just, why is that a choice that and an experience, just as one example of all the things that we can do in as a human? Why does some choose to be hateful? What's the exploration? What are they learning from it? Why be these certain ways? And the 21st century and where we are right now with 8 billion people all exploring so many different aspects of humanity, as much as my own alignment is for light and love and spiritual awakening, and that's what a lot of my own journey has been. um, I I'm fascinated at all the various timelines and storylines and experiences that are working themselves out through humanity at this moment. It's why it's the most amazing time ever to be alive, that it is all kind of
Mhm.
coming to a head, like these waves are all kind of like crashing together from so many different directions in humanity. And who knows where it's all going, because that's all going to be uh, up to the individual souls and beings and who are in human form and what we decide to do with it.
Yeah. Yeah, well said. Well, in something, a question that's coming up too is like, what place does spiritual practice have in this kind of contemporary era? A lot of times we think about, yogis practicing in caves and meditating in forest traditions, and like this is a thing of the past. Yeah, I think that's an important thing to speak to for the audience.
I think it's just about expanding your understanding of who you are and what your journey is all about. Without spiritual practice, it's quite claustrophobic. It's um it's like growing up in a small town out on the prairies. Like all you know is just like everything that's in your town. You just know the people and the traditions, and this is the food you eat and the church you go to, but it's just you don't have a lot of expanded understanding. But you
Mm,
know, it's like traveling, it's like leaving your small town, it's like going out and seeing the rest of the world and knowing that there's other languages and cultures and people. And so and to explore that within yourself and then to just have understanding for others, I think it just helps to generate compassion and empathy for each other on this journey. It takes the edge off of criticism and judgment that we seem so fond of. It just being kind to each other, being loving to one another, I've found is such a more appealing way for myself, anyways, to go about this human journey. And I think that all the spiritual traditions point to a deeper understanding of the self that then leads to a deeper understanding of each other and
yeah.
and then compassion for each other. And then as we have to co-create with each other, we have to have systems and societies and you know, frameworks that we do things together, and we can do that just with a lot more ease and a lot less strife, a lot less conflict that we seem to have a real appetite for as humans. We seem to like conflict. We seem to like fighting. We seem to, and it limits us. It limits what we're able to do as a species, as a culture, as the evolution of life on this planet. So to me, the spiritual practice is everything that just will
Mm,
take us to the next level of what we can be as
mm.
humans.
Yeah, thank you so much. That really resonates with me. I really, really appreciate you speaking to that. And I heard you say life on this planet. What's your impression of life on other planets beyond our star system? Anything to share on that?
I think it's vast. I think, you know, another one of these catchphrases that we like to say is, oh, the universe is infinite, but we don't really kind of imagine what that means. It's infinite. It means there's life and there's beings everywhere. I mean, some say, and here's another kind of crazy concept to wrap your head around. It's all about dimensions, and that there's different dimensions even on this planet where there's different beings and there's different forms of life that take place right here. It's you don't even have to go to another planet. That it is so rich and life abounds in so many different ways and so many different dimensions with so much different potentiality everywhere we go. It's a little it's mind blowing. You
Yeah.
can have any experience you want anywhere in the universe. It exists. And it's even, I think that's a next phase of human development that we have to realize there's so much more going on this planet that you don't even have to go to other planets. And those are full of life. Um, Everywhere we go. I think we have this notion somehow. I don't know how science came up with the idea that we're on this like barren rock. Well, we know our rock's not barren, but the other ones are. There's no life out there anywhere. When I think it's the opposite. I think it is rich, rich, rich in all directions. And you know, part of realizing it and experiencing it is you have to just shift to be open to it. It's hard to say believe in it,
Yeah.
but just having to be open to it, be open to the experience of your own multidimensionality, be open to the experience of beings on other planets that are interacting with us now, have always interacted with us, will continue interacting with us because we're a part of them. We're not separate from the
We're
galactic
not separate from
community.
them. Yeah. Yeah.
we're
Yeah.
we're all related, and when you open yourself just to that possibilities, then I invite anybody to just go on that exploration and see what happens and see who you meet on what level, what dimension, and what aspect of yourself. how will that enrich your journey?
Really warms me to hear you speak to that. And that's, I think, so much sums up what's in your book. You know, this is an invitation. Consciousness Mixtape is an invitation to really explore the fathomless depths of our reality through the lens of personal experience and to be unabashed in those discoveries that we might make. I'm very curious about those discoveries. So tell us about books moving forward. I know you've got more books that want to be written. Is there something else that's kind of in the crucible of creation for you, kind of wanting to come out? What might that be?
Well, what came through this book was trying to describe how it is that you maybe decide to come to Earth. You know, how is it that you're a soul? What is a soul? I mean, again, these are ideas. And I preface it a lot in the book to say this is just an idea. This is just a story. I'm not speaking truth here. I'm just telling stories, but even those stories are helpful. So it brings to this notion and a curiosity that's always with me in my own journey is that of star seeds. And it's a kind of a new concept. People are identifying, millions of people are identifying as saying, hey, I don't think I'm really from here. You know, like this is an experience myself and others are having. I don't think I'm really from here. And so what
Hmm.
does that mean? What are the repercussions of just that notion? How does that work? How are we not quote unquote from here, but here we are. Here
But
we
here we
all
are.
are.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
we all are. And how many of us and what does that open up to the vastness of consciousness and how do you attain human form? It's just so through the journey of star seeds, I'm yeah, I'm and many don't really understand it. There's a lot out there where, you know, there's the star-seeded ones you could say are exploring that themselves, but others are like, frick's a starseed, you know, like that is like people. So it's even I have a idea to try to explain that to everybody because I think it's an important question of our time, especially as we go forward into this world of UFO disclosure. You know, there's they're talking about it in the US Congress right now. They've come out and they've admitted that they've been in contact with extraterrestrials. They have extraterrestrial craft. So we're poised for this exploration or disclosure, discovery, however you want to term it, that's going to take place in our society over the coming years. So it brings up a lot of questions about just who we are and how we got here in the first place. So that seems to be my
Mm.
general curiosity if it's in a book about star seeds or other subjects, but it is this expanded notion of how are we connected to the greater galaxy, universe, multi-dimensions, what is actually playing out here. We're not as isolated as we think we are. This notion that we're just floating through space on our lonely rock, that it's not what is really happening out there. We are connected. Life is rich in every direction. So, yeah, how did we get here? And what the frick's a starseed?
There we go. There we have it from Chris McNutt. Anything else that you want to share for your audience today? Anything else that's really this conversation has brought up for you?
And I go back to just the journey of the individual journey, and everybody's journey is important. And just, you know, don't, I think we have there is a tradition, something in our matrix where we like to worship others. There's something that's deeply ingrained
Mm.
in just our society where we worship. And we don't do it just with gods and religion. We do it with sports figures and celebrities and politicians. We want to take others and put them on a pedestal above us and then kind of look up at them and somehow worship them. And I
Mm.
think we need to do that with ourselves. I think we have to just take that back and start to appreciate yourself and be curious about your own journey and how amazing and wonderful each and every one of us is and what we have to offer and the amazing skills and abilities and insight that is just that the potential that we have if you're curious and you just start to kind of look at yourself with love
Mm.
and encouragement for yourself that we don't have to look up to others. It's okay to admire others and appreciate success and beauty and all the wonderful things that other humans are doing, but we don't we don't have to worship others because it kind of takes our power away. It's good to just appreciate our own um, just wonderfulness. We're all fractals of source consciousness. We are the universe in action. We are a little part of God, each and every one of us. So the more we take that to heart in our own journey, then that's the portal. That's the gateway. That's a you can yeah, just open up to everything.
Chris McNutt, I am really touched to speak with you today. Thank you so much for being with me today and so much you've given us and tackled such big, far-reaching questions. I'm really honored to speak with you. Thank you.
Uh, Thanks, Rebecca. This is wonderful. A lot of fun.
Yeah, we are signing off from Alaska and the Yukon today. Thank you all so much.